When we're normally talking about AAA gaming, it's generally in a negative light. Very rarely do you find good examples at such a high level with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line. There are very few opportunities to highlight the good that is actually out there in the industry. Somebody who is moving the medium forward, who is telling good stories, developing great characters, and then also putting exceptional gameplay behind that. And so, when there's an opportunity to highlight such a person, well, I gotta take that opportunity. And it just so happens to come in the form of the director of one of my favorite games, not just of 2024, but of all time. And we're talking about Naoki Hamaguchi with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I know, right? Big shock. I get an opportunity to talk about FF7 Rebirth again. Who could have thunk it? But the director says he wants to bring Remake Trilogy to as many players out there as possible, which by God is still yet to announce a PC release date for the latest entry. But that's obviously, if you know anything about the exclusivity deal that was obviously signed and it's been publicly recognized between Square Enix and Sony, there's a good chance that the entire Remake trilogy is wrapped up with the Sony exclusivity. Boo. But the exclusivity window, it was a year. I do believe it was a year for Remake. It ended up getting a PC port. It was unfortunately on Epic Game Store first and then eventually came to Steam within about 18 months. But the exclusivity window for Rebirth, on the other hand, well, it was only 3 months, and it was up, I think, at the tail end of May. Yeah, that would make sense. And since then, well, we've heard that there's, the big the big PS5 Pro patch as opposed to a PC port, which I'm waiting for. I really want it because there's a lot of stuff that I would like to see added to this. There's some cool stuff that I want to do. And yeah, I also want this game in more people's hands, just so they can see how great it is and not be propagandized by the people that think, oh no, they made Tifa's boobies smaller, I'm not going to support woke game. It's not woke. An update I could read is either optimistic or frustrating, depending on one's personal level of investment in the game's yet to be announced PC release. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth director Naoki Hamaguchi says that, despite the lack of progress in doing so, he would like to see the Remake trilogy come to as many platforms as possible, which, yeah, even though there is that established relationship between Square Enix and Sony for the Remake trilogy, they also announced earlier this year, talking about Square Enix on this one, that they're going to go ahead and release all of their games to the widest audience possible. So could that have knock-on effects for Reclaim, which I think the third part is going to eventually be called? Maybe, potentially, but there's that goofy little thing called a contract, probably tying a lot of this stuff up. But anyways, despite the lack of progress, as many platforms as possible. And they're giving all the Japanese voice actors on this one, which if I'm going to do, oh man, maybe that could be a PC thing, but when I do another playthrough, because I'm still, I'm on the back end of the hard mode 100% replay, doing some of the side missions and then some of the battle VR missions. Okay, so that stuff's going to take a while. It's going to be a little bit arduous. Not looking forward to that stuff, but at the same time, kind of looking forward to it to see how much more expeditious I can be with that. Yeah, playing through this game with the Japanese voice actors, but here's the thing, man. That trio of characters that are right there, they're all fantastic. Tifa, Britt Baron, she does a banger job. Arguably the best. I don't know, man. Barrett's voice actor is really good too, and Cody Christensen, playing Cloud Strife. Want to undercut him? He was really, really good in that game. And Tyler Hoechlin as Sephiroth, being simultaneously aloof and intimidating, was fantastic. But I digress. I haven't heard anything from the Japanese voice actors. I'll have to do that in due time. During a recent interview with Games Radar's Jasmine Gould Wilson, the topic of conversation eventually turned whether the Remake trilogy would eventually come to more platforms. Offering a little more insight, he could into the matter, Hamaguchi asserted, in terms of Final Fantasy VII, there's nothing really we can say at the moment, but I certainly do want to bring Final Fantasy VII and the Remake series to as many players out there as possible. So we want to create that situation, that environment, where more players can play the games in the future, and we want to look in that direction. Please, for the love of God, bring it to PC. Elaborating on his thoughts, the series' new director having taken over the role in 2021 after Tetsuya Nomura decided to chew on a couple more crayons and make Kingdom Hearts 4. That was another franchise that I was really invested in. Then I played 3. Now looking forward to 4. But anyways, Hamaguchi noted that far from his own personal desire, the concept of multi-platform releases was something that was not just Square Enix, but the video game industry at large was beginning to embrace. I think this goes beyond Final Fantasy VII. It really is a change in the industry, and I certainly think we're feeling right now that the industry has changed in terms of there being so many different platforms and environments that people play games on these days. You're noticing something different, because here you have a creative where he's responding to the market, not trying to force behaviors or trends into the market. Isn't this refreshing? This is why your game's great. Even when you have goofy little dance sequences like this when you first get to the gold saucer that wasn't in the original, but no. There's some brain dead assholes that are out there that think that this is just a one-for-one remake of a 25-year-old game. God, I want idiots like that fired into the sun via trebuchet. Hamaguchi contrasted this with how in the past publishers would put out a game in one place and get most of the players coming to play that game, to play it on that platform. Right, sure, yeah, exclusives used to drive the market until the technology race really kind of slowed to a crawl with the 8th generation, the PS5, Xbox One. I think that's where everything, just the wheels really started to come off. That and budgets also ballooning and companies, just trying to cast a wide net to recoup as much as they can. So it's much more diversified now, he told Gould Wilson. So I think that there's probably why Square Enix CEO Mr. Kiryu made the decision to move more in the direction of multi-platform, and that's just the way the industry is going. And yeah, talking about finding Final Fantasy on an Xbox console, which was revolutionary at the time of what was it? Well, I know 11 was over there because of, the MMO, but the first mainline Final Fantasy game, 13, not exactly putting your best foot forward, but hey, Hamaguchi also worked on 13, and definitely the best thing to come out of that disaster. God, I hate that series of games. And that's a trilogy too. Yuck. What a waste of years of creativity. Well, this mentions of Microsoft's flailing PlayStation competitor does not appear to be related to any sort of confirmation of news about Rebirth's future. It does confirm that, at the very least, the game's director is at least, yes, actively aware of the Xbox ecosystem and whatever it's eventually going to turn into, because they got a brand new marketing campaign that we'll probably get some clarifications on in the very near future. But yeah, man, long and short of it is, he just wants his games everywhere so more people can play them, more people can have a great time, a memorable time, and a fantastic time. I still like Remake, but the moment that Rebirth comes out on PC, yeah, it pretty much usurps it. Like, unless you just simply want to get the story, there's no reason to go back and play Remake. And hopefully we can get that PC port, sooner rather than later. But this is news that has been going around actually for a while. But now I guess it's fully confirmed that Rebirth is not going to be getting a DLC. Not like Intermission. Or I guess they called it Intergrade back, when PS5 first came around and they had the port. And, they had the Yuffie-centric DLC, which was quite good. Quite good. Definitely showed you of future things to come in regards to gameplay. But now there's not going to be like Sid's backstory or a Vincent set of chapters. That could also, I guess, probably be a backstory, figuring out how he got into that coffin, because that's a story that's been told very poorly through Dirge of Cerberus. So if we could just go ahead and kind of retcon any of that stuff, the overall Final Fantasy VII story, the compilation would be much better without it. But that's not going to be the case, because all of this content is going to be put on this massive part 3, which, bro, okay, if they're already working on it, if it's full steam ahead, they've got 80 to 90% of the staff that has been working on this project since Remake into Rebirth, and now knowing all of those systems, all of the ins and outs, working on part 3. It's very likely we're going to be seeing something in regards to part 3. I would imagine probably by the summer. I don't think I'm out of pocket by making that proclamation, especially if we get news within the next month or two. I'm open at the Game Awards, but a boy can dream when it comes to a PC port. But the sooner we get that out of the way is the sooner that we can start to look forward to a part 3 announcement, which will unfortunately probably happen in 27 to coincide with the 30th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII, and to think that I'll be 37 by the time I can play this stuff makes me want to die inside. But let's just hope that's not the case and we can have a quicker turnaround on this. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth stands out, one of the biggest titles of 2024, and is nominated for multiple awards this year. 7 Game Awards, which is, I'm sure it's just a mere coincidence, right, Jeff? You Sony simp. As the second chapter in the ambitious Remake trilogy, fans have been curious whether they can expect DLC the same way that Square Enix added a new chapter, well, 2 chapters, dedicated to Yuffie when they brought the first part to the PS5. As part of the wide-ranging conversation with the game's director Naoki Hamaguchi, we asked if fans can expect anything similar with Rebirth, and we were told not to expect any expansions, but for a very good reason. Yeah, because it's full steam ahead on 3. Definitely do hear the desire from fans. Yeah, like, I don't know, if you're going to do any kind of DLC, though, just let us play as Sephiroth and Zack. That'd be great. Could just open that up on PS5. They're there. The character models are right there. Okay, they don't have to have any influence on the story. After you beat the game, you could just unlock those 2 awesome characters with fun-ass gameplay. Why not just do that? Anyways, okay, I understand it completely. But I think from my perspective, what the fans really want to see, and most necessarily, is not DLC. They want to see the third part of the series as quickly as possible. You bet your ass, man. Because if we're standing here at this point in time next year and we got part 3 on the horizon, I'm gonna shit a brick. But anywho, so that's why we've decided not to focus the development resources on creating additional extra episodes for DLC at the moment. We really are putting our efforts into getting the third game out as quickly as we can. So for the moment, that's where we're focusing on our time. But as you're seeing, just with these 2 stories right here, he is so immersed in what the fans want. Because yeah, a DLC would be cool, but if that detracts from the completion of this story, where it's going, and the fact that at the point in time where Rebirth leaves off, without spoiling a, obvious spoiler from like 25 years ago at this point in time, part 3, oh my god, like, for the complaints that I have that the story doesn't really kick in until about 2/3 of the way through the game, part 3 is going to be all plot. It's going to be all story. I don't know how they're going to fit in all the side content. If this game's as ambitious as Rebirth is, like, the map gets bigger, your traversal options get far more vast. Like, you get an airship, and they're super excited about bringing the airship, and you got weapons, you got super bosses, and it's going to be... I'm talking myself up for a game that we're probably like a couple of years away from playing, or at least knowing much about. But the fact that Hamaguchi is right there in the trenches, just as excited as everybody else is, I mean, me personally, I'm not enthusiastic by this acknowledgement that, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth director has apologized for how hard it is to platinum. Yeah, here's the thing. Okay, like I said, I'm going through my second 100% Platinum Plus playthrough, where you just complete the playlog, which has a couple of other things on top of what it takes to get the Platinum Trophy. But honestly, all you need to do is just... I'm not the most skilled gamer in the world, but I had a level of stick-to-itiveness. It got me a Platinum. I think it's... like, when I first got it, it was under 2% of players actually got the Platinum. I think it's over that at this point in time, but it's not like it's up to 20 or anything like that. It might be a 3. It might still be solidly in the 2 percentage points. And yeah, a lot of people consider it hard. Oh, it's a 200-hour, grind fest. It's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. You just set yourself up appropriately, and it wasn't that difficult. But yeah, I'm not somebody whose gaming life revolves around trophies, achievements, anything like that. But because there is a vocal enough fan base, or a segment of this fan base out there that wants an easier platinum, or doesn't want to have to go through some of those arduous tasks in order to get the platinum, that once again lets you know that Hamaguchi is in tune with the fan base. I appreciate that, even though I'm not the biggest fan of just, handing out participation trophies, which I don't want platinums to be, but it's really inconsequential in how much I enjoy a game. And last but not least, there's a reason I'm so looking forward to part 3, because this guy knows exactly what he's doing. Okay, he's a fan of the franchise, he's a fan of the games, he's talked ad nauseum how much of respect he has for the guys that he's working with for crafting such a masterpiece back in the cut. Final Fantasy VII, by the way, is not my favorite Final Fantasy game. I think it's 3, if I place it appropriately, and I would say Rebirth is probably better than the original. Might be sacrilegious to some, but I would say play the goddamn game. You might have a different opinion on that. But yes, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth director says he wanted to avoid fan service, but not the kind that you think. Yeah, exactly, because there's a ton of references, okay, to not just Final Fantasy VII, but to the wider Final Fantasy canon. Just about every single mainline entry got a wink and a nod, but it wasn't one of those directly at the camera going, hey, there's a little bird, and it lands on Barrett's shoulder, and that's a reference to Zaz from Final Fantasy 13. Did you catch that? Oh, and there's also a singing section. That's like the opera part from 6. Did you catch that? No. This is masterful storytelling. and it's not belligerent. It's not beating you over the head with the story that they want to tell. It's a breath of fresh air. Anyways, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth director Naoki Hamaguchi has revealed that in developing Cloud and the crew's next adventure, he intentionally wanted to avoid filling the game with fan service, and thankfully, he's not talking about the sex appeal kind. Yeah, exactly, because you did get that with the beach scene. And the fact that after you beat the game that you can play through it again and you can do your hard mode run with everybody's beach suit on, or Barrett in the Shinra sailor uniform. Red and Kate Sith also have, different costumes as well. Yuffie has 3, Aerith has 3, Tifa has 3, Cloud also has 3. I would just, I'm waiting for a PC port so we can get even more costumes, because that's what I like. But anyways, yeah, spoiler warning, I guess. But yes, reflecting on the game's development during the recent interview with Eurogamer's Ed Nightingale, Hamaguchi admitted that one of the biggest challenges he faced was avoiding the temptation of portraying one particular event in the exact fashion it was in the original. There was a danger there. There was definitely a trap. With the original game, I was just a fan. I played the game when I was younger, and I got my perspective on that scene as just a single fan. Which one is he exactly talking about? Hamaguchi then admitted, I felt like I made a decision, had to go in this direction. I felt if I made a decision, it has to go in this direction, we have to do it this way. That would very much make it a fan-driven thing. It would make the game feel more like fan service. Wow. When you take a look at modern entertainment now, and it basically all comes across as being fan fiction, Hamaguchi looked at it as like, we could go in that direction. Yeah, but I think we need to do something better than that. Holy shit. Thinking another level. It's the kind of thing I want to avoid doing. Wow. As Hamaguchi, decided to rather focus on the scene surface level aesthetics. Oh, rather than focus on the scene surface level aesthetics, you just need to learn how to read. He instead decided to approach it by considering the creative intention of the original Final Fantasy VII production team. Yeah, Mr. Kitase, a director and writer of the original Final Fantasy VII and still a producer on the Remake trilogy, often says this, that he really wanted to create the kind of debate and speculation after the game and moving through to the third Remake game that people keep talking about it up until they see the final conclusion, which, it's going to be, if all of those little breadcrumbs that they're leaving, especially the conclusion of this game, end up coming to fruition, it's going to be something crazy, man. That's why theory crafting this game is so fantastic. Anyways, in the sense that I think we probably have achieved exactly what he would have wanted to do there, and I'm very satisfied with that because people are still talking about it. Oh yes, very much so. To this end, I think we kind of know what. If you don't know, then that's fine. Which moment he's referring to, or at least framing this in. I think you probably already know. Very much the big conclusory event at the climax of the final chapter. To this end, Hamaguchi noted that while many fans found Rebirth's ending to be controversial, this reception was actually kind of the way that we wanted to go. Because there are so many people that believe one side of it, that are steadfast in their beliefs, and they think that, there's all the visual indicators that are there. And then there's other people on the other side, they're like, well, no, if you just, piece the stuff together, you listen to the other stuff that was happening throughout the game that is all coming across as being incredibly deliberate, you're just going to end up coming to the conclusion that we're pretty much on the same track as we were with the original. Anyways, now the important thing is that the players will wonder whether it's going to change or not. So if it was all exactly as it was in the original storyline, you'd know exactly what was coming. There'd be no anticipation, there'd be no excitement. For people who played the game, they'd know exactly what's coming next. It wouldn't really be a fun experience. It might be nostalgic, but it wouldn't be a fun experience, which is very much is, because like I said before, man, 7, not my favorite Final Fantasy game. Top 10 favorite game? Perhaps. But in expanding this story in ways that has never been done before with any entertainment platform or a program before. Like the next closest thing that we're going to see to this is the Harry Potter series that's going to be on Max, but that's extrapolating on the books in the way that the movies never could. So that'll be about the next closest thing, but this is a one-for-one, medium-to-medium extrapolation on a story that doesn't come across as bloated. Everything is deliberate in its setup. Yes, there are changes from the original, just flat out one-to-one, like you don't go to Rocket Town. Haven't recruited Sid or Vincent fully into your party yet. Rufus and Shinra are very much off doing something different. We don't know the full scope of Wutai. Temple of the Ancients has moved, so the world's a little bit different. Things are Things are different, but different is exciting, and the way that it's all set up by somebody who has shown such levels of care that is unique in this industry, it makes me incredibly excited. It makes me want to continue to sing the praises of this game series, especially at the point in time where you take a look at its competitors and you realize that, wow, there's just a bunch of people out there cashing paychecks and hating on their audience. You could just simply look across to what Naoki Hamaguchi is doing, crafting something with care and attention, and thanking his fans, and staying true to the story, staying true to the vision. It's nice to talk about good things every once in a while, but I'm sure we're going to be back to the slop here very shortly. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.